I start this recipe with the onions in my right hand, and I end with the onions in my left. But I suppose that's the thing. So much in cooking begins with the frying of onions. It's one of the essential rhythms of the kitchen, because cooking isn't a big performance. It is simply a series of small, repeated tasks that weave their way through the days. And if you're wondering why the onions are looking quite so yellow, it's because I'm frying them in cold-pressed rapeseed oil, which has a wonderfully mustardy flavour. So I'm going to leave them softly sizzling while I go in search of heat in the form of this red chilli. If you want to de-seed it, you may. I'm just slicing. I want all the fire. So my chilies need to be added to these soft, sweet onions in the pan. And I know this is might seem an odd way of conveying them, but it's because I'm frightened of taking my lenses out later. Beautiful. Ginger is essential here. It has a particular peppery, almost pungent warmth. I'm gonna grate quite a lot of it in. Oh, and garlic, of course. Another form of heat. So familiar, so necessary. But my heat-seeking mission is not over. I want the gold fire of English mustard. And actually, it provides more than heat. It seems to dance on the edge of bitterness. Now I'm off to the green corner, first for spinach, and this just needs to wilt in the pan. Then lime. Sourness is essential in cooking. It brings brightness and lets the deeper flavours rumble through. And salt, of course. What I'm making is a Bhorta, and it's a bit impudent of me to be telling you what a Bhorta is, since I've only recently been introduced to this wonderful thing. But essentially, it's a dish from the Indian subcontinent, and its chief and defining feature is that it contains a mashed component. And I have just such a component in the oven, ready to be mashed. For this is a fish finger Bhorta. Now, I've had these fish fingers in the oven for longer than it says on the packet, because I want to get them really crisp on the outside. I'm going to start my mashing. Oh, it's a promising sound, isn't it? And I can add to my sour, hot tangle of gingery onions and mash again. Whatever you do, don't go for those luxy, chunky fish fingers, because then you'll have too much of the fish and not enough of the breadcrumbs. And I want a lot of the breadcrumbs. This is fish fingers as you've never eaten them before. And I say that as someone who adores a fish finger sandwich. Can't wait to dive in. Soft, crunchy, spicy. Want to give it a good carpeting of coriander. And this is something I brought to the party. Pink pickled onions. I've just been steeping some half moons of red onion in vinegar for a while. And this is everything I want out of supper every day, any day. And I'm going in. This is the kind of cooking that really helps me unwind. A bit of contemplative chopping at the beginning, and then nothing more than a bit of stove-side stirring, plus the prospect of a fabulous dinner. It starts with a little olive oil, nothing fancy, not extra virgin olive oil. In go the onions. I'm going to try and cook them fairly low so they really become sweet and soft and sort of add body to the stew. I call this my fear-free fish stew because I do think that cooking fish can be frightening. You feel like you've got one point in the whole cooking process to get it right. And then if it's overcooked, it's such a waste. So I cook the sauce and then I just have to drop the fish in at the last moment and it cooks gently. It won't overcook and it turns it from being stressful to being like the most relaxing thing I can think of cooking. Well, those cook gently. Aha, coriander. I am using, first of all, the stems, because if the stems are tender, you can use them, you get another layer of flavour and you're not wasting them. And since I'm waiting for the onions, I'm going to get my spices together. So some ground cumin. And then going on to a bit of ground ginger. Warmth, a lot of warmth here. And then some turmeric, which apart from giving that gorgeous golden colour, also gives a slightly sharp edge. And, of course, heat, hot smoked paprika. And this may sound a bit odd, but just a bit of cinnamon. And some mace. God, I think mace is so underused. It comes from, what is it, like the overcoat on nutmeg. So it has some of that coziness of nutmeg, but it's much more lemony. Very beautiful colours. It's like an artist's palette, really. See, look, the onions have really softened, beginning to go pale gold and caramelly. First thing I need to add, some orange zest. Just seems to make everything sing. Now for my chopped coriander stalks, which hit the pan fragrantly. Then I grate in garlic. Followed by ginger, stirring everything together. Last, my aromatics. A beautiful bowl of spices. But I know, cut the sweet potatoes a bit like dolly mixtures, but it's for a reason. I want the sweetness, but I also want them to add body and thicken the sauce. They also really temper the acidity of the tomatoes. And, you know, cooking life, everything, balance. I half-fill the empty tomato tins with cold water and swill them out into the pan. I don't want to waste even a bit of flavour. I add a little tomato puree for depth followed by a glinting drizzle of honey. Then I squeeze in half my zested orange and sprinkle in salt. Generous with salt. The tomatoes really need it. Don't be timid. This is a fear-free fish stew. Be bold with your seasoning. Now that it's beginning to bubble, all I have to do is let it simmer covered gently until the flavours have really mellowed and the sweet potatoes are soft. You can use any firm white fish for this, and I've got here a beautiful piece of cod, which I cut into bite-sized pieces, then drop into the simmering sauce. The key to keeping the fish lusciously tender is to cook it gently with the lid on for 3 to 5 minutes before leaving the pan to stand uncovered and off the heat for a couple more. I absolutely love the drama of Black Venus rice with this, and it's easy enough to cook in a saucepan. In fact, you can cook it like pasta. As you can see, I have gone the rice cooker route. Ready to go ladling. Perfect. The fish looks so tender. Just luscious. Okay, I'm being greedy. It's too much. Oh dear. I feel suffused with calm, and I haven't even started eating it yet. I make a creamy garlic and anchovy dressing that just makes salads sing. This is how I make it. I prize 4 anchovy fillets out of a jar, although obviously you can use a tin, and then I chop them fairly finely. I pour 75 mils of double cream into my pixie pan. And into this little pan, I finely grate in 2 fat garlic cloves. Then I add my chopped anchovies to the cream and sprinkle over a pinch of ground mace and a fat pinch of sweet smoked paprika. I put the pan over gentle heat and I stir all the time. In fact, I do more than stir. I like to press the anchovies against the side of the pan with my wooden spoon, helping them to disperse into the cream. Once the anchovies are just small flecks in the pale but paprika-tinted cream, I take the pan off the heat and I cover it with whatever's available and leave the pan to cool. And when the cream is cold, it'll be wonderfully infused with the garlic and anchovies. While the flavoursome cream is cooling, I toast some walnuts. And by toast, I just mean I put them in a hot oven for 10 minutes and then straight away tip them on a plate in readiness. I chop quite a bit of parsley. I mean, you can use whichever herbs you like. Chives are wonderful here as well. To turn the anchovy cream into a dressing, first make sure it's cold. And then I add a good squeeze of lemon juice and whisk in extra virgin olive oil. Finally, I fork in a good amount of my freshly chopped parsley. I think this dressing is very much suited to robust or bitter leaves, and that's why I've got cos for the crunch, along with chicory and frisée. I think the key to dressing a salad is to add much less dressing than you'd think, and to toss the dressing into the leaves for so much longer than you'd want. Once the leaves are lightly and evenly coated with the dressing, I toss in some of my warm, toasty walnuts. Some I leave in halves, and some I break up with my fingers to have smaller pieces of nutty rubble. Before diving in, I scatter over the remaining walnuts and sprinkle with parsley. This creamy dressing is mild and inviting. I think of it as perfect entry-level anchovy.